joining us this evening as we kick off several important community discussions on the future MCCA-owned parcels on D and E Street. I'd like to start by acknowledging that there have been concerns around this RFP process from the community, various stakeholders, which the MCCA takes very seriously. We're committed to ensuring there is a robust community process, that your input is considered before the RFP on these parcels is reissued. Tonight we plan on giving a presentation on the potential opportunities for parcels and hearing any community concerns, questions, and feedback. As a lifelong South Boston resident, I look forward to working with all of you in this room on both this project and strengthening the relationship between the MCCA and the community. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly if you have any questions or concerns. I have provided business cards with my contact information next to the sign-in sheet. I just want to say that I just started this job on April 10th of this year, but I've worked for the MCCA for 35 years. Over the last 35 years, I started over at the Heinz Convention Center, and I came over to the BCEC in South Boston when it opened up, and I've been there ever since. I have a strong operational background in convention centers, and I'm also a lifelong resident of South Boston. I grew up on Silver Street, and when I got married, I moved around the corner to G Street, and I've lived my entire life in Ward 6, Precinct 4. That's a little bit about my background. I know that the community process is very important to South Boston. It seems like I've been going to community meetings ever since I was pushing in a stroller for my mother. And I know that it's very important that the relationship between the MCCA and the South Boston community stays. When the seaport was first, I was at Joe Mobley and Jimmy Kelly and Mike Flaherty really reached out to the community before the convention center was built, and there was a lot of strong community support on the design and the build. And I just want to make sure that that relationship is solid as we go forward. So please, my phone number is on my card, my email address. Please reach out if you have any concerns, any questions, and I promise I'll get back to you. So with that, I'd like to introduce Brian Golden from Keegan Witt Berlin. We're giving a brief presentation on the D Street and E Street parcels. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks very much, everyone, for spending some of your evening with us to discuss the convention center, its goals and aspirations associated with the parcels on D Street that the convention center acquired about 10, 3 different parts, which are being development in the near term. It's the MCCA's that RFP for development will go out soon, but one of the reasons we're here tonight had a conversation similar to this last week over at the convent school in South Boston, was to solicit community feedback and input into that is currently being considered by the authority. Feels very strongly that document needs to be informed by community input. That's why we're here tonight. We hope you'll take this opportunity to let us know what's on your mind when it comes to selecting a development and a developer for these parcels. Again, my name is Brian Golden. I'm a partner at the law firm of Keegan Whirlin, which is based just a few blocks from here on High Street in downtown. Prior to my coming into the private practice of law, I was the director of the Boston Planning and Development Agency for 8.5 years. Worked at the agency for a few years before that in a senior staff role. Prior to that, I was a state legislator for several years representing Alston Brighton. During my time in the legislature, going back almost 20 years, the convention center was occurring while I was in the House of Representatives, so that was a very hot topic. I was from South Boston, Massachusetts. It became very clear very soon that we all have skin in the game. The center is a premier economic engine for metropolitan. So the authority is to foster economic development, expositions, bring traffic into the that, you know, an objective the convention would reveal that the authority has been realized. It's a really important part of as we contemplate next steps in developing a convention center that addresses the needs. We're talking about developing 3 major parcels on D Street. They're circled in black here. They total a little over 6 acres. I'm sorry that the one on the right is cut off, but that's a little under 2 acres. It's total, I think, 6.2 acres among the 3. And those 3 parcels are envisioned to be part of the RFP that is issued in the not too distant future. Now again, for the past 2 decades of convention center history on Summer Street, a lot of parcels were assembled to build the convention center. There has been for many years the notion that the convention center itself should expand, perhaps to the side, perhaps to the rear, perhaps both. But there have been different iterations, different notions about what should happen with an expansion of the convention center. That has historically been the primary conversation about development as it relates to the convention center over the past decade. That's where all the oxygen, all the attention has been focused. But there's a statutory issue there. There needs to be legislative authorization. That has not yet occurred. So what the authority is focusing on now, as that continues to play out, the expansion, are these 3 parcels which were taken through the Commonwealth's eminent domain powers to assemble sites for potential development that would nurture the convention center. The hotels, there are hotels that have been built upon convention center land. There, in recent years, part of it, COVID, obviously, every hotel felt tremendous distress with COVID. Got a problem associated with them, and it's the convention center across the street, and their current placement. And it was never the goal on D in the convention. There needs to be more. There needs to be more so that the convention, the vibrant place it's intended to be, because the prior owner, there wasn't enough activity over there. Again, part of neighborhood on this side, can't stand over here. On the convention center, just doesn't sit there like an aircraft carrier. Across Summer Street, there needs to be this this is that has been sort of dwelled seaport writ large. All South Boston waterfront have yet of that story as we Parcels opportunities. So why now? Center of gravity was on expansion. An important conversation that's occurring. Both officials. What that expansion look like? There was the notion. And under the Director of the Convention Center, Jim Rooney, there was the notion that current leadership at the there was, but we are pivoting for now to something the MCCA has greater control. Is the redevelopment of these parcels. So of the authority for so we're hoping getting very good. Also in the convention it has diverse revenues. Last few years, every relied on conventions and distressed as a result of COVID. The through it in a relatively, the experience that we known to humans 4 years pandemic. But it must be nurtured. The hotel, things were difficult for the hotels. Before, we don't know what the future holds. COVID's one. The overall economy, you can't just hope that everything, just because we made it through this past mentally sound, best things that can be done for the neighbor center, and part of that is revenue. The convention center is another revenue to support the work of the MCCA and to development engine well into the future. Those parcels aren't doing anything for much of it. I think we'd like that. It's job creation, it's taxes, it's economic. To nurture the as an economic. Just very active in planning, exercise. Be familiar with a lot of the we seek to develop because economic activity that creates jobs, that creates housing, space, that creates development, brings a lot of social goods into existence that stresses associated with development, absolutely, but what we've seen play out over the significant building booms in the history of the city is that there are challenges, but there are also benefits to generate amenities that people value in their community. community. So activation of D Street with who knows what uses. We'll see what comes back. We're interested in what uses you think. Those also may be community focused as opposed to private activity. It could be things like daycare centers. It's made loud and clear to us was there's a for a signature green resiliency. If we ever go, conversation might look like in climate change, an awful lot more every single year. Buildings and geography that can deal with. So we would expect that any development of those parcels be very sensitive. Major efforts to address those. I think you'll see a robust developer in the RFP that will be developer pivots over into real estate. And then finally, make sure that development bears fruit, pays dividends, economic spectrum. So, request for proposals will go up. Multiple response currently envisioned should be 9 proposals. By the MCCA recommendation. After there is a agencies for anyone who's been involved, a very long conversation with City Hall on the 9th floor of City Hall. Similar conversation. And what come of that is in the neighborhood professionals a several vision to me. I think it's that the prop will take City Hall be followed by development and at City Hall and D Street. So to solicit input, the will occur for the MCCA and share how the RFP. The MCCA will issue an RFP on June 12th. Again, that RFP goes out. There will be 90 days for developers and to the authority. And with that, I think this is where we'd like to hear from neighbors, comments, concerns, fears, desires associated with the RFP that is currently being put together by the MCCA. So thanks very much again for being here. Thanks for your attention. I look forward to, we all look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
I have a microphone here if anybody has any comments, questions.
You know we don't need a microphone. I'm Mary.
Hi, Elliot.
How are you? Hi, Brian.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So I have questions.
Yes.
Do you work for the convention center now?
No, I don't. I work for a firm, but the firm has been hired by the convention center, a law firm.
To sell this project?
Yes, to present the project to the neighborhood.
Much nicer
Yeah.
word. Okay.
Hi.
A couple questions. I'm a resident of 2nd Street and E Street. So really close to that whole wasteland area, and I'll also be following the development. A couple questions first. So it looks like there's another proposal just right by the convention center, like that pavilion thing. Like immediate expansion of BCEC. So is that related to the three parcels?
The expansion
Yeah.
of the convention center?
Yeah.
Well, it's related because the convention center does seek to expand. That's been discussed for over a decade. It requires some state legislative action. So that's not anything I'm involved with. The parcels that I'm discussing now are across the street, on the other side of D Street.
Yeah, so they're not directly related, right?
They're both, the land for the expansion is owned by the convention center. That would be a convention center project. The land across the street is owned by the convention center, but they're seeking private developers to partner with the
We're
developers.
just wondering if there's any cooperation or collaboration between the developers, would be developers on these parcels to make sure.
There'd certainly be, interrelationship there, but it all depends on what that looks like. It's hard to say because we don't actually have an expansion that is underway or even near getting underway.
Kind of design of that.
There's a lot of different ideas that have been floated for the past
And
decade, but
there's another recent proposal for First Street, right, which is also really close. So it's kind of like in the same area. I wonder if there's any coordination for with that parcel as well.
So through the Article 80 process, which is a real estate development permitting process managed by City Hall, there would be significant planning involvement, and the Boston Planning and Development Agency has a large planning division, it has a large development division, it has a large design division. So those would work together, not just to look at the parcels that are being developed, that are being RFP, that we're soliciting proposals for. Once there is a project identified, a project contemplated, the Boston Planning and Development Agency is going to look at that through a broader planning lens. And so anything in that vicinity, not to mention anything going, in the South Boston waterfront, in the middle of where we're sitting now, all of the activity here, all of the activity, back to South Boston proper toward Broadway Street, there'll be a holistic look at the impacts of this project, whether it's because of the effects on existing projects or the effects it could have on projects that are contemplated.
For this particular one, it was pushed back, right? Remember? It was
these three parcels, there was an RFP that was issued and it was pulled back and canceled.
So we're basically trying to just amend the RFP and
So a new RFP will come out. There'll almost certainly be pieces of the old RFP in it. A lot of that will probably be relevant. But before that RFP is issued, before that RFP is finalized, the MCCA wants to hear from the neighborhood. That was one of the reasons why it was canceled. It was premature. It shouldn't have gone up.
Yeah, thank you.
If you don't mind, I want to go to Cypress Street, Brian.
Sure.
Did you have any slides?
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
I think Cypher must be on.
Don't put me on it. Okay, so Cypress Street is, okay. So the circle there between E Street and D Street.
So this is Cypher.
Right, and that circle, what you have circled there.
It's one of the parcels. Yeah.
Okay, so is there a plan to open up that parcel to Cypress Street? I'm looking at that line that sort of goes towards the left, the garage there.
I'm sorry.
All right, I'm not.
The black line?
The bottom over there, the bottom. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
That there, yes. Okay, is that the cut through Cypress Street?
so there is contemplated because my understanding I'm not involved in the Cypher Street issue, but I understand it has an impact.
It's a big problem.
Yes, and I understand that. The convention center is also going to have separate community conversations specifically about Cypher. Just about Cypher, because it is a very loaded matter, isn't it? It's apparently a filthy street, there's remediation, filthy, that there's toxic contamination beneath the surface, and that needs to be remedied. There are also demands by Massport and DOT that the convention center open up an access point through one of these parcels to Cypress Street so that truck traffic can get there.
Yeah.
I understand that. I don't understand much more than that, and the convention center wants to have a very detailed conversation about what happens there. It's not, I think it's fair to say, I may be going out on one, I don't think that the convention center views this as their issue. It really is a Massport DOT issue, but their parcel is implicated. Their parcel is relevant to that conversation.
So what the development will be with it will be two parcels on D Street and then that one on D Street here? Is that right?
Yes, I'm sorry. 2 on D and 1 in back of the hotels that would front E Street.
And that road here. I've got my puzzle because that.
Oh, sorry, it's a pointer. This thing, Ellen?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is what you can an RFP for these three parts.
Correct.
And were those properties taken by eminent domain back in the day?
Yeah, I think in 2012 and 13.
So how do you remediate that for the people from whom it was taken?
So the people from whom it was taken were paid market value for it. So they were paid for the parcels. I don't know what more.
Okay.
Right.
Was there ever a figure, a public figure for what those parcels were sold?
Yeah, it absolutely is public, but I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. I don't know what that number was. Does anyone know what? It would be easy. And I'd be happy to find out how far back. I'm sorry, Representative Beal is here. Joining us.
My name is Mark Glassman. We just want to go on the record for you. All the vertical construction on the project. My members kind of, we don't, and projects like this with funding in place already is going to help us hopefully in the midst of if we do the recession. So we just want to be there for support.
Can I ask Mark a question? Where do you live, Mark? Where do you live?
I live in Bridge. I represent the.
Oh, I know who you are. I know who you are. But how many of your members live in South Boston?
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Sir.
John Fitzpatrick. I live 34 Story Street in South Boston. I'm also a member of the United Brotherhood of Providence. Even that aside, I'm also very interested in. I've seen the Seaport grow to what it is. I understand the argument. Everyone wants or wanted to see it better or whatever the story may have been. I'm quite happy with the Seaport. Continue. One of my greatest concerns is because I drive through Southie every day. I'm early in the morning. But my big concern with that area of West Street, not so much Cypress, but West First, sorry, and all along these parcels, empty parcels. I'm completely serious. I don't want to see another, massive cast in South Boston. I don't want to see that happen. And again, the cost of doing nothing to me is probably going to really blow back in my face in the next 5-10 years if something's not done. And I truly am concerned about that. And I'm going to be real. I'm concerned about my property value. And the more development we have, the better responsible development we have, then the happier I am. So, and I do want any contractor coming in to live up to community standards, their wage, their benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Mary Joyce Morris. I think so, Brian? I spoke at the last meeting, and we have lived at 21 Morgan Street, which is off A Street, for 23 years. The quality of life has seriously diminished over those years. Right across the street from us on A Street is another massive project coming. More traffic. I'm going to say again what I said the last time. Getting up A Street all day long and again in the evening is 20 to 25 minutes. And I don't see anything changing because that traffic is also going to come from the project across A Street. And this will add to the traffic. I can see my building right from this drawing here. And it's probably going to go through, but I'm just voicing my opinion. It's a quality of life issue. It's, I don't know where it's all going to go, but thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Sorry.
My name is Ron Gomes. I'm a general manager at 250 Northern Ave for restaurants, and we're definitely in support of the convention center and its developments. I've been there for about a decade now, and I think that is helping a lot of business to the area. There's been a lot of diversity that's come from it. Just as of last week, we were able to do a couple of buyouts, which to us benefited the company a lot. So far, we see that there's a lot more foot traffic in the area, and it benefits the entire Seaport. And the Seaport itself is up and coming. Like I said, I've been here for 10 years, and we were one of the first restaurants in the area, and we only seek to grow. And it's played a big part in the development of our company as a whole. And we're totally in support. I think that the community altogether can benefit from it. I know there's a lot of work to be done altogether in the area and in the Boston community, but I don't think that to slow down is the way to go about it. There's, just mentioned traffic. That's something that's going to be an issue altogether, and it's something that we're going to have to work through. There's no easy way out of it, and I think the best way is to push through it. The development will definitely benefit us altogether, and like I said, it brings a lot of business and just a lot of diversity in the area. We get to network with companies and people from all over, and I think it's just very good for the city. So far, the convention center itself has been a stronghold in the seaport and in the city itself. Sorry. But no, altogether, I definitely think that it's good for us. And, as long as we're working with the neighborhood and working with the community, I definitely think that, we can, grow all together and just kind of help each other and provide for the community and the growth of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, and your baby, for being here.
I think the Seaport is beautiful, Brian, and you have a lot to do with that. I welcome it to us. It's beautiful, very beautiful.
Thanks, sir.
It's beautiful, and I don't object to development. I really don't, except when it encroaches on the people. And that's the difficulty. If you want to take those classes, just move them up a few feet. Give us that side of the street clean.
I want to point, mention it in the context of Article 80, but no matter, very sensitive. The nation of these parcels between what we Boston waterfront, the seaport, residential neighborhood of South. Sensitive area, and there's going to be mitigation necessary with whatever happens there to make sure that negative effects don't flow in this direction. Or it has to be a holistic examination of impacts in a plan to mitigate in the Article 80 process, and I think sensitivity, the number of eyes on this situation, both elected officials, the planners at City Hall, building a project in this area is going to have to be very serious, very sensitive, and come up with really robust commitments to mitigating potential ill effects.
Great relationships with the people looking at the top of the west. There's a lot of development. You see it on a map like this. As I said, we've developed great friendships and developers themselves. We're not inconvenience and the emotional behavior that just takes away our quality. The traffic is crazy everywhere. You can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
I like the helicopter ride. And then, that's a short down. So. I mean, we had a heliport,
I remember way back, pre-convention center.
On C Street. It was the old, I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to call it again, but we had a heliport again. And that's so, in train tracks, that don't offend me at all. Because we lived here our whole life with the railroad, with the trucks. To get the trucks off the street was a huge effort. And then we got them on us. That's my one. For my neighborhood, safety, quality as much as possible, and least amount of construction as possible to stop that area.
Elliot, whatever sensitivity of the issues you just raised, as well as a really aggressive requirement to mitigate further ill effects. And I think that's what will happen during Article 8.
It's its own issue.
Sure.
It's not connected to this at all. This at all, other than the use of Parcels.
Right.
For mass. Yeah.
And I think they're really in a difficult position because in that it's a mass, but they are their MCCA that have
What a site. I don't
characterized by yes, sir.
We're seeing Cypress Street.
First Street issue I am familiar with traffic route, the toxic below the surface and that need to be removed.
is captured
But I don't know that.
and the engineering.
Okay.
I would say that was, and they're almost like I'm the whole, bring it up all they want. You know, sorry about there's no taking that road.
Yeah, I don't know what. And last week we heard similar over the Massmore. Oh, okay. But again, like, the MCCA knows it has to have a conversation about Cypress Street in the neighborhood, specifically on that subject.
I didn't know what these parcels were, frankly. I thought they were in parcels.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I had no idea where they were. Now, I know them. I don't know about them.
Thank you.
In terms of transportation, there's also plan to improve, which is passing through these parcels. It will be express, like it's will also be like bike plan, just I guess just to access transportation. So that would that be part of all the RFP just to make traffic, but also like just improve pedestrian experience, just to make this more.
So, be significantly mitigated, no matter what's proposed, that multi will have to be accommodated. You know, sophisticated traffic, mitigation presented by any respondent. See that dealt with in tremendous detail. Process that will be run by the Boston Planning and Development. Anything else? Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Ready? No.
Oh,
Just kidding.
thank you, Ed.
Happy birthday.
What's that?
No, I'm talking to Ellie. That's her brother.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I did.
Oh, okay. Take care. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate your spending the evening. Take care.